Now to southern China, which is bracing for Super Typhoon Ragasa. Daily life has come to a standstill, with thousands forced to leave their homes, and schools and offices are closed. The storm is bearing down on Hong Kong now, with winds of more than 200 kilometers an hour. Landfall is expected within 24 hours. It has already swept past Taiwan and the Philippines, leaving at least 3 people dead.
It was a lucky escape for this family, plucked to safety as heavy rains overwhelmed rivers in the north of the Philippines. Communities have been ravaged by Ragasa, the most powerful typhoon so far this year.
The
floodwaters rose, and I could hear how strong the wind was. Yesterday the waters weren't as high, but when I woke up, it was already deep.
Ragasa packed winds of more than 200 kilometres per hour and gusts far higher. But it's the flooding and landslides which often pose the greatest risks in northern Philippines. Several people have been killed and thousands of others have been displaced. The storm weakened as it headed out to sea and towards China on Tuesday. But authorities aren't taking any chances. Almost all public life in parts of China's southern coast has been put on hold. People in Hong Kong have been taking precautions.
I taped windows in my place with a cross pattern. We also prepared rice, noodles and vegetables. We are well prepared.
Sandbags are in place with forecasters warning of large waves. And hundreds of thousands of people have been evacuated in Guangdong province. Ragasa has also caused chaos for air travel. More than 700 flights have been suspended until Thursday.
Our correspondent Rik Glauert is in Taipei following this storm. Rik, we heard that a dam broke and a bridge collapsed in Taiwan. What more can you tell us?
So some very dramatic scenes coming out of Hualien County in the east of Taiwan. That's after a mountain lake that had been caused by a landslide earlier this year broke its bank, sending millions of tons of water, debris and mud down the mountain. About 75 people have been trapped, 2 people are missing, and 7,000 people have been evacuated as the floodwater swept down the valley, also taking out the bridge that you mentioned, flooding a train station and flooding through a town. We've seen some images of people escaping to the tops of vehicles or the tops of houses. The government had put that area on high alert and said they were monitoring the levels of that lake, but they're warning that there could be more waves of flooding as it continues to rain in that area.
So the hurricane, or the storm rather, the typhoon, is now moving towards Hong Kong and mainland China. I understand hundreds of thousands of people have had to leave their homes there. Is the situation there any better?
Well, officials in southeast of China and in Hong Kong have been really taking a lot of measures and been encouraging people to take this storm seriously. They've been describing it as a potential catastrophic, large-scale disaster. Hundreds of thousands of people moved out of just one city alone, Shenzhen, and other major cities, including Hong Kong, effectively in lockdown now, with the schools, the offices, and also public transport shut. You know, the message here to those residents is to go home, stay home, and as they'll be starting to feel the first effects of that storm about now, but the full force of it will be hitting over the next few hours, overnight, and into tomorrow morning there in Hong Kong and southeast China.
Let's take a look at the Philippines. The full extent of the destruction is now becoming apparent there. How big was the impact of the typhoon in the Philippines?
Well, yeah, this super typhoon first made landfall there in the north of part of the Philippines, where at least 3 people have died and 5 people are missing. At least 2 of those people, as you saw in the report, were killed during landslides. Some 17,000 people have been forced from their homes. There's been reports of widespread flooding, and in 29 provinces, schools and government offices are still shut as rescue operations, clean-up operations continue. Many communities, some of them which were still, reeling from a very heavy monsoon season, have been cut off by this typhoon. So the full extent of the damage there in the north of the Philippines is really still emerging.
Rik, thanks very much for filling us in there. That was our correspondent, Rik Glauert, in Taipei.